our parents come from a generation where you could work as hard as you possibly wanted or could, and you could be comfortably upper middle class with awesome benefits and a great pension. And like anybody could do that. Anybody. And that's not the case anymore. That's not the case anymore. We don't reward hard work anymore. It's all about obsession. That's super cool. Let's talk about serendipity. This is something Sarah talks a lot about. Serendipity. Well, I kind of want to talk about college because she's so unapologetic about dropping out of college, and I love that. I love that. She's so honest that like, and the three of them really in this podcast is you just like don't need, unless you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or I don't know, maybe you go into banking, like you don't need to go to college anymore. And I think David Perell was saying there's a big difference between the $2,000 community college and the $55,000 a year public school or Ivy League institution, but we call them both college. But there's such like a huge spread of power or tools that those things both give you. I'm not speaking, but I think it's important what they have to say about just like being just like curious about things. And I don't know.
You want another quote? I'll give you another
Bring
quote,
it up.
baby.
Bring it up.
David
I'm having
Perell.
trouble putting words together.
I know. I saw it. Me too. I'm brain farting. But this quote is written down.
It's Sunday.
The industrial age rewarded hard work. The information age rewards obsession.
Yeah. And then when they talk about in terms of finding the new wave, like you gotta be in with the tech geeks because they're the ones doing this on the weekend in the after hours just because they love it. That's how you find the new stuff. But I think that's really important because it's something our parents don't understand. And I've said this before on here. Our parents come from a generation where you could work as hard as you possibly wanted or could, and you could be comfortably upper middle class with awesome benefits and a great pension. And like anybody could do that. Anybody. And that's not the case anymore. We don't reward hard work anymore. It's all about obsession. That's super cool.
Yeah, I think that's why Twitter, I forget what they call it exactly, but it is an interest-based social media. So I think that's part of your problem with Facebook in particular is I don't know how to define that necessarily. It's more like just a social media. I don't know, but Twitter just doesn't seem. It seems like you're reading blog posts or you're reading articles, you're reading books in some cases with what people write, but it's just a different form. And I think it shouldn't be associated with social media and the negative connotations that has.
I'd agree. I mean, it obviously has its pros and cons, but it's the breadth of Twitter that is so different. It's like I've been on Facebook since 2009, maybe. And in 1 week on Twitter, I've expanded my circle of like consumption of things that I value a millionfold. A millionfold. That's the difference.
What's cool too, because David, when they talk about how their lives are Twitter, like they are so engrossed in this world, and that's why you see David's podcast, Sarah's podcast, they all have amazing guests on all of it because they're DMing people on Twitter and they're just involved in this community. David's big on having friends too that are unlike your normal friends. Like these are radically honest friends that are just all on the same path.
Let's talk about friends right after this. Wasn't that how I think David got in contact with Sarah? Is like someone got pinged. The Hint. Is this guy from Hint?
Yeah.
God,
Nick,
all these things are jumbling up in my head.
Nick has his own brand. I think it's called like Sharma.
Okay, so
he
basically,
represented them.
One of their phones, they were in San Francisco, and they see Sarah Dietschy uploaded a video, and then they get talking. They're like, "Oh, you watch Sarah Dietschy?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I think she follows me. Like, let me DM her." And then a minute and a half later, like they're booked for whatever conversation.
Right, and Sarah's already responded to me on Twitter, and I'm a nobody. Like, especially if you have that blue check mark, it's unbelievable. So that's Ian mentioned it. episode
Thank you, Ian.
43, I want to say. Yeah, he completely changed everything for us there. So we're still getting into it, but it's fantastic. What's interesting too with how creators interact with businesses, I guess this was on an earlier thread we were talking about, but yesterday you sent me, oh, what's his name? I'm forgetting the engineer. Michael Reeves video.
Please put that in the show notes. It's unlike anything I've ever seen for a brand deal.
Right. And that's just kind of, I mean, Amazon's usually on the cutting edge. They're a little bit chill, but they're a big company. And like, there's a lot of friction in the creative process. And that was one of the big takeaways is like, people don't see the behind the scenes, how much work is required. And so they're basically going back and forth. And Amazon's like, hey, Michael, you should make your video like XYZ. They have to
they sent him a whole like storyboard of slides, and like at this minute in the video you have to do this, this, and this, but you can't say this word. And
that's actually what it's funny you share that with me. It's shareable viral content when people are just like fuck you to normal companies. Everyone gets behind that. That's what happened with Casey Neistat with the Nike video when he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to take this money and travel the world with it. That's what connects
to
with
make
people.
A broader point. Yeah.
And like that was one of the realizations that they had was like, hey, if you're a company right now and you can approach someone that's a creator, one, you can get them for much less.
Wait, but say what happened. What did Michael Reeves do? Oh, you don't want to say it? So well, he gets this like pitch deck from Amazon, and he spends the video basically just being like, Amazon told me to do this, and I'm not going to do that. And it's done 5.5 million views in 4 days.
Right.
And like, okay, we know for a fact that bad news is still new. Like, it's just a funny video. This is in the vein of Michael Reeves, but like, these are still 5.5 million eyeballs. Whether he was really shitting on Amazon or not, it's like Amazon was talked about and seen by 5.5 million people.
And now it's going to be another 100 with this episode, baby.
Yes.
At least.